Every morning before dawn breaks over Portland, a small boy walks alone through empty streets that smell of rain and broken dreams. Lucas Martinez, barely 6 years old, carries responsibilities that would crush most adults. Today, like every day for the past months, he steps carefully around puddles on Alberta Street, his thin jacket soaked through, heading toward the construction sites where hope and desperation collide. What Lucas doesn't know is that 20 blocks away, the man who should be his father sits in a glass tower, drowning in lies he's told himself for years. And somewhere between them, another man who's learned to survive on nothing but kindness will become the bridge that changes everything. David Martinez grips the steel beam with hands that shake from more than just the morning cold. The Pearl District construction site towers above the city, another luxury high-rise for tech workers who'll never know the names of the men building their homes. Sweat drips despite the October chill, and his vision blurs as he tries to focus on the beam placement. His kidneys feel like stones grinding inside him, but admitting weakness on a job site means going home without pay. He's been undocumented for 8 years, ever since he crossed hoping to send money back to Guadalajara. He never planned to stay. He never planned for Maria to disappear in the middle of the night, leaving their newborn son with a note that said she couldn't handle being a mother. Now Lucas is everything. Every beam David lifts, every check he cashes under someone else's social security number. It's all for the boy who learned to make breakfast before he could properly tie his shoes. Marcus Chen Williams adjusts his Italian tie in the reflection of his corner office window. The view from the 30th floor showcases the city he's helped transform, where coffee shops and startups have replaced working-class neighborhoods. His company went from dorm room idea to billion-dollar valuation in less than a decade. The business world calls him a visionary. His family calls him a success. Neither knows the truth about the man behind the expensive suits. The IPO paperwork scattered across his mahogany desk represents everything his parents dreamed of when they immigrated from Taiwan. Traditional success, American wealth, the promise of grandchildren to carry on the family name. Marcus stares at the marketing materials featuring his carefully crafted image as the family-oriented CEO, and his stomach churns with the same sickness that's plagued him for years. Dr. Kim's voice echoes in his mind from yesterday's therapy session, asking the questions Marcus pays her to ask but never wants to answer. Why did you leave David? What were you running from? The truth sits heavy in his chest, the same truth that sent him fleeing Portland 8 years ago when he realized loving David Martinez meant admitting who he really was. Alex Rodriguez wipes down the counter of his food truck for the third time, watching the morning crowd thin out on Alberta Street. Coruscant Kitchen feeds construction workers, single mothers heading to early shifts, and teenagers who've learned that Alex never asks questions when they show up hungry with no money. The truck represents 8 years of saving every dollar, sleeping in shelters, and building something from nothing after aging out of foster care. The eviction notice taped to his permit board flutters in the morning breeze. 30 days to find a new location in a city where food truck spots disappear faster than affordable housing. Alex has survived worse, but barely. The Q Center downtown knows him as the volunteer who shows up every Tuesday to help LGBTQ kids navigate systems that weren't built for them. A small figure approaches his serving window, and Alex's attention sharpens. The boy looks familiar. One of the kids who's been circling the food truck area for weeks but never approaches. His clothes are too big, his shoes worn thin, and his eyes hold the careful alertness Alex recognizes from his own childhood. The look of a kid who's learned that adults aren't always safe. The construction site accident happens faster than anyone can react. David's grip slips just as the beam swings wide, and the impact sends him crashing to the concrete below. His vision goes white, then black, as his coworkers rush toward his motionless body. In the distance, an ambulance siren begins to wail, but David's unconscious mind can only think of one thing who will take care of Lucas if something happens to him. When silence surrounds us and the weight of survival rests on shoulders too small to carry it, we learn that family isn't always the people who share our blood. Sometimes it's the strangers who see our need and choose not to look away. Subscribe to Heart Stories for more stories that prove love comes in forms we never expect. The call comes to Lucas during math class, his cheap phone buzzing against his desk with a number he doesn't recognize. When Lucas returns from the hallway 20 minutes later, his face is pale and his hands shake as he packs his backpack. "Papa está en el hospital," he whispers to himself, the Spanish words his father taught him for emergencies. Oregon Health Science University Hospital rises like a fortress above Marquam Hill, its windows reflecting the gray sky that seems permanently settled over Portland. Lucas navigates the maze of corridors with the determination of a child who's learned to handle adult problems, following signs he can barely read until he finds David's room. His father lies unconscious, surrounded by machines that beep and hum, connected to tubes that disappear into his arm. The doctor explains that David's kidneys are failing, has been failing for months, possibly years. The construction accident simply revealed what his body had been hiding. Lucas nods like he understands, but the medical terms wash over him like waves. What he understands is simpler and more terrifying. Papa might die, and he would be completely alone. Alex finishes his lunch rush cleanup when he notices the same small boy from yesterday, now standing near the hospital bus stop across from Alberta Street. Something about the child's posture, the way he holds his thin shoulders straight despite the weight clearly pressing down on them, triggers every protective instinct Alex developed during his own years of navigating the world alone. The conversation begins in Spanish. Alex's second-generation fluency, rusty but functional. Lucas's story emerges slowly, carefully. His papa's in the hospital. He doesn't have other family here. He's not supposed to talk to strangers, but he's scared and hungry, and the nice lady from school keeps asking questions he doesn't know how to answer. Alex recognizes the code words, the careful omissions. This boy is protecting someone, probably protecting his father from the kind of attention that can destroy families like theirs. Undocumented, uninsured, working jobs that pay cash and offer no safety net when bodies break down. They take 2 buses to reach the hospital, Lucas navigating the route with the competence of someone who's learned public transportation by necessity. Alex watches the boy's face as they walk through the hospital corridors, noting how Lucas straightens his spine before entering his father's room, preparing to be strong. David Martinez wakes to find his 6-year-old son sitting beside a stranger, both of them speaking in the rapid Spanish that David rarely hears in Portland. His first instinct is protection, the sharp alertness of a man who's learned that unexpected visitors can mean deportation, job loss, or worse. But something about the young man's posture makes David pause. Alex introduces himself slowly, explaining about the food truck, about Lucas appearing alone and scared, about his own experience aging out of foster care. He talks about what it means to recognize when someone needs help and what it means to offer it without judgment. The conversation that follows happens in 2 languages, with Lucas translating medical terms his father doesn't understand and Alex filling in gaps about resources David didn't know existed. It's the first time in months that David has talked to another adult about his situation. The first time he's admitted that his body is betraying him and his son is paying the price. Pride wars with desperation in David's chest as Alex explains about community health centers, about legal clinics that help undocumented families navigate medical crises. David wants to refuse help, to insist that he and Lucas can handle this alone. But watching his son's face light up as Alex promises to check on them, David realizes that his pride might be the most dangerous luxury he can't afford. 3 miles away, Marcus stares at his computer screen, scrolling through private investigator reports that all end the same way. David Martinez, last known address, Portland, Oregon. Employment history spotty, no current contact information. The man he abandoned 8 years ago has vanished into the underground economy of a city that's changed beyond recognition. The therapy session from this morning replays in his mind. Dr. Kim's gentle but relentless questions about why he's searching for someone he walked away from. Marcus tells himself it's about making amends, about taking responsibility for the child he never knew existed. But late at night in his empty penthouse, he wonders if he's searching for David because facing his past feels easier than accepting his future. When we learn to survive alone, accepting help becomes an act of courage greater than any independence we've achieved. The strongest foundation isn't built by one person's effort, but by the willingness to let others help carry the weight. The boardroom on the 40th floor of Chen Williams Tech buzzes with controlled energy as Marcus sits at the head of the polished table, listening to his marketing director pitch the Supporting Working Fathers initiative. The words sound hollow to Marcus, corporate speak wrapped around his desperate search for one specific working father. His phone vibrates with another update from the private investigator. 3 David Martinez's identified in Portland metro area, none matching the man Marcus remembers. The search has cost more than most people earn in a year, but Marcus continues funding it through company charitable funds, telling himself it's legitimate business expense. Alberta Street has changed since Marcus last walked these blocks as a college student. The coffee shops and boutiques that replaced working-class businesses tell the story of a city pricing out its own people. His driver parks the luxury SUV outside a food truck cluster, and Marcus steps onto the sidewalk wearing a $1,000 suit. Alex notices the expensive car before he sees the man approaching his truck. Corazon Kitchen attracts construction workers, single mothers, and teenagers with more hunger than money. It doesn't attract men whose watches cost more than Alex's monthly income. Every instinct developed during years of survival tells him to be careful. Marcus asks about local families in need, specifically fathers struggling with medical bills or immigration issues. His questions are too specific, too urgent for casual charity work. Alex's protective instincts sharpen as he realizes this isn't about helping families in general. This man is hunting for someone specific. When Marcus describes David Martinez, Alex's expression doesn't change, but his body language shifts into the careful neutrality he learned in foster care. Never reveal information about vulnerable people to strangers. No matter how rich or well-intentioned they claim to be, the medical crisis escalates faster than anyone expected. David's kidney function drops dramatically during his 3rd day in the hospital, sending doctors scrambling to stabilize his condition. Lucas sits in the waiting room, small hands gripping the plastic chair as adults speak in medical terms he recognizes as dangerous. The kidney failure requires immediate dialysis, treatments that cost thousands of dollars per session for a man with no insurance and no legal right to be in the country. Social workers ask questions about next of kin, emergency contacts, and financial resources. Questions that David can't answer honestly without risking deportation. CPS investigation begins when Mrs. Patterson files her mandatory report about Lucas's chronic absences. The social worker arrives at the hospital with forms and deadlines that don't account for immigration status or medical emergencies. Lucas needs a stable guardian, she explains. Someone who can provide proper care while his father receives treatment. Alex makes the decision that will change everything. Sitting in the hospital cafeteria at 2 in the morning, watching Lucas sleep curled in a waiting room chair, he calls the legal clinic at the Q Center. His voice is steady as he explains the situation, but his hands shake as he volunteers to become temporary guardian for a boy he met a week ago. Marcus's investigation finally yields results when his private detective connects immigration lawyers to medical emergency reports. David Martinez, admitted to OHSU with kidney failure, undocumented worker with dependent child. The report includes the detail Marcus has been hoping and dreading to find. A son, age 6, currently in emergency foster care. The first meeting between Marcus and Alex happens in the hospital corridor. Alex recognizes him immediately from their awkward food truck encounter, and his protective stance becomes more pronounced. This is the man who was asking too many questions, whose interest in David felt predatory rather than charitable. Marcus sees Alex differently now, not as an obstacle, but as the person who stepped forward when Lucas needed help. While Marcus was conducting expensive searches and planning corporate initiatives, this young man was actually taking care of David's son. When Alex finally leads Marcus to David's room, the moment of recognition happens in complete silence. David's eyes open to see a face he hasn't encountered in 8 years, someone who belongs to a different chapter of his life entirely. The machines continue their steady beeping as 2 men stare at each other across a chasm of time. Choices, and consequences. The hardest battles we fight aren't against external enemies, but against the fear of being known. When we finally allow ourselves to be seen completely, we discover that vulnerability isn't weakness, but the foundation upon which authentic connection becomes possible. David's voice is barely a whisper when he speaks Marcus's name, the sound carrying 8 years of questions that were never answered. Lucas looks between the two men, sensing a connection he doesn't understand, but recognizing the way his father's face changes. Hope and pain mixing in equal measure. The conversation begins with careful questions about David's health, the kidney failure, the prognosis that everyone in the room understands is serious. Marcus doesn't ask about Lucas directly, but his eyes keep moving to the boy who sits quietly in the corner chair, taking in everything with the sharp attention of a child who's learned that adult conversations determine his fate. The medical reality dominates everything else. David needs immediate dialysis to survive. Treatments that cost $14,000 per month for someone with no insurance. The kidney transplant waiting list stretches for years, assuming David could qualify for a procedure he can't afford. Without treatment, Dr. Chen explains gently, David has weeks rather than months. Immigration complications multiply the medical crisis exponentially. Hospital billing departments report uninsured patients to federal databases that ICE monitors for enforcement opportunities. David's admission has already triggered notifications that could result in deportation proceedings, even while he's fighting for his life. Marcus's corporate world begins collapsing while the hospital drama unfolds. Board members discover his use of company funds for private investigation, his manipulation of charitable programs for personal goals, and his absence during crucial IPO preparations. The boardroom coup happens during David's worst medical crisis. His business partners voting him out of active leadership just when he most needs company resources. The kidney compatibility test results change everything. Marcus submitted to testing, hoping to be David's salvation. But genetics don't care about guilt or good intentions. His blood type is incompatible. His tissue markers don't match. And all his money can't change biological reality. Alex gets tested without telling anyone, motivated by instincts he doesn't fully understand. The results show perfect compatibility, a medical coincidence that feels like destiny to everyone except Alex himself. He stares at the lab report knowing that donation means months of recovery he can't afford and risks he's not sure he's prepared to take. Alex presents the option matter-of-factly during a family meeting, explaining that he's researched the procedure, understood the risks, and made his decision. David's reaction is immediate and intense, a refusal based on pride and the impossibility of accepting such a sacrifice from someone who owes him nothing. The pre-surgery conversation between David and Marcus happens privately, without lawyers or social workers mediating their words. 8 years of separation dissolve into immediate questions about abandonment, responsibility, and the child Marcus never knew existed. The conversation is difficult, painful, and necessary. Two men finally facing truths they've both been avoiding. The operation takes 7 hours, with Lucas waiting in a room filled with children's books and worried relatives. Marcus and David wait together, their past creating an awkward intimacy as they share fear for Alex's safety and hope for a successful outcome. It's the longest conversation they've had in 8 years. Alex wakes up first, his first question about David's condition, his first concern about Lucas's emotional state rather than his own surgical pain. When David opens his eyes 12 hours later, his first sensation is the absence of pain that's been constant for months. His kidneys are functioning for the first time in years. Alex's donated organ already filtering toxins that were slowly killing him. Lucas's reaction to seeing both men conscious and recovering reveals the depth of fear he's been carrying without complaint. His quiet tears in the hospital room speak to months of watching his father deteriorate while trying to maintain hope that everything would somehow work out. The transformation begins quietly, in small moments of interdependence that none of them planned. When we finally stop running from ourselves and allow others to see our deepest vulnerabilities, we discover that healing happens not through perfection, but through the courage to be imperfect together. Recovery transforms the sterile hospital room into an unexpected space of male vulnerability, where three men navigate new territory beyond traditional masculine roles. Alex's surgical incisions reminded everyone of the sacrifice that made David's survival possible, while Marcus learns that money can't purchase forgiveness or accelerate emotional healing. David's first week with functioning kidneys reveals how close he came to death. Dr. Chen explains that his body was shutting down systematically, months of kidney failure poisoning his system while he pushed through construction jobs and single parenthood. Alex's recovery moves slower than expected, surgical complications extending his hospital stay, while medical bills accumulate faster than his insurance covers. The legal complexities of Lucas's temporary guardianship require careful navigation as David regains his health. Alex's emergency custody was designed for crisis situations, not long-term care arrangements. Immigration lawyers worked carefully to establish David's eligibility for legal status through medical emergency provisions and Lucas's American citizenship. Marcus's financial resources prove essential but complicated. Hospital bills exceed $200,000, amounts that would bankrupt working-class families but represent manageable expenses for tech industry wealth. However, accepting Marcus's money creates psychological debt that David struggles to navigate, pride warring with practical necessity. Alex's role in the family structure defies easy categorization, somewhere between friend and uncle and chosen family member. His sacrifice created permanent bonds that transcend traditional definitions, while his ongoing recovery requires support from people who were strangers months ago. Therapy sessions with Dr. Kim expand to include family counseling as Marcus, David, and Lucas work through 8 years of separation and trauma. Lucas learns for the first time about his parents' relationship, his father's reasons for never discussing Marcus, and Marcus's reasons for leaving before learning about the pregnancy. Marcus's coming out happens gradually, first to Dr. Kim in therapy, then to David during late-night hospital conversations, finally to Lucas through age-appropriate explanations about different kinds of families. Each revelation requires careful navigation of David's reactions, Lucas's questions, and Marcus's own internalized shame. 6 months after surgery, David's kidney function remains excellent, Alex's health has returned to normal, and Lucas attends school regularly with appropriate support. Marcus has established a smaller but more sustainable business focused on technology solutions for nonprofit organizations. The family structure they've created doesn't fit traditional models, but works for their specific needs. The food truck cooperative that grows from Alex's business employs formerly homeless LGBTQ youth, providing job training and stable income. David's work as community health advocate connects immigrant families with medical resources. Marcus's technology nonprofit develops apps for social justice organizations throughout Oregon. Lucas's perspective on family has expanded beyond biological connections to include chosen relationships based on love, sacrifice, and mutual support. His experience provides resilience and emotional intelligence that will serve him throughout his life. Understanding that families can be created through intention and commitment, the annual Pride Festival in Portland becomes a celebration point for their unconventional family, a public acknowledgement of love that transcends traditional categories. Marcus marches openly for the first time as an out business owner. David participates as an immigration rights advocate. Alex volunteers with Q Center youth programs, and Lucas distributes rainbow stickers while learning about community celebration. When we stop trying to fit our lives into predetermined structures and instead build relationships based on authentic care and mutual support, we discover that the strongest families are often the ones we choose rather than the ones we inherit. What defines family isn't blood or law, but the willingness to sacrifice for each other's well-being and growth. Have you ever found family in unexpected places or experienced love that changed what you thought family could look like? Share your story in the comments below, because someone else might need to hear that they're not alone. Subscribe to Heart Stories for more stories that celebrate the power of chosen family and authentic love.